What's up, guys? Welcome to the Man vs. Rage YouTube channel. I'm Hugh, and in today's video we're going to be going over the developer gameplay preview of Remnant from the Ashes that they had over on Gassy Mexican's Twitch channel. We're going to be unpacking everything from the live stream, and that I thought was pretty cool. But before we get into that, make sure you come hang out with us. We stream Sunday through Friday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time over at twitch.tv/manversusrage. That's MANVERSUSRAG. Now let's get into the video, guys. Okay, so the first thing you're met with when you start this game is you'll have a choice to make. So essentially there are three classes at the beginning. You have the Hunter, the Ex-Cultist, and the Scrapper. They'll each start with their own abilities and weapons and melee weapons and stuff like that. But just know if you do get the game, you're not like bogged down by your choice in the beginning. You can become anything you want. You can build any build you want with any of these starting characters. So essentially they're just what you want at the beginning of the game is who you'll pick. But as far as what you'll be in the end of the game, you can get there by picking any of these characters. And then moving on, we're met by the big crystal, the big hub world crystal. You'll go here and you'll travel to the different worlds and locations to try to take back humanity and get better gear to do so. Then moving from there, they move on to Earth and they show off some gameplay. Which is the cool thing, they show the equipment screen. So essentially what you'll be able to equip on your character is you'll have a handgun, a long gun, a melee weapon, head, body, and leg armor, 2 trinkets, a consumable, and 2 mods. Which I believe you can put mods on weapons too, because they have a mod slot on the weapons. And it seems pretty cool. And not to mention you'll have different like the weapons, not the weapons, but the armor will have different weight, and that'll depend on how your dodge is in the game. You got really heavy armor then, and you'll just kind of jump forward a little bit and flop to the floor. It's pretty cool looking. But moving on, so they get to the first dungeon. Just cool. Because they kind of go through, and like the first time I believe they go through, they come across as like a ritualistic totem type thing, I guess you would say. And when they destroy it, you actually get a preview at the boss, and it's pretty cool. You can knock his health down. But the guy was saying like you could find these throughout the level, and this could help you kill the boss in the end, like in a different way or something like that. And it'll give you different rewards than if you just went through and fought the boss regularly, and could potentially, give you I'm pretty sure it gives you like different crafting materials, and you can craft different like boss items and stuff. Which we'll get to boss items because they showed some off in this thing and it looked pretty cool. Alright, so moving forward, another thing that's pretty cool is the guy died quite a bit going through this this dungeon. Now the layout of the dungeon always stayed the same, but the thing that changed every time was enemy placements, and even enemy types would change. He would go through and he would see a guy with 2 swords that you'd have to fight in a different way, and there were always like these little things that kind of attacked in packs that were pretty easy to get rid of with melee weapons, but they could still swarm you. And then they had these things that threw these projectiles that would land on the ground and explode. I believe there was this big thing with a Gatling gun that shot at him, and it was just freaking crazy, dude. So after a while, I believe he actually had to go back to town, and he had to upgrade. Now how the upgrades work is you have, like he had a hunting rifle. He had to have 20 iron and 8 rusted parts and able to upgrade it. So you'll have to get materials out in the world to come back and upgrade your weapons that you get. And then he finally went back in and he fought the boss, which was called the Shroud. And I believe it had a Bloodlust ability on. And it's like one of the root monsters, and it has a bow and arrow, and it's pretty cool. It'll shoot its arrows at you, and if it hits you, I guess with the Bloodlust ability, you actually take bleed damage. It also had like this big area of effect attack that it shoots out of the ground at you. But the cool thing about these boss battles is you'll have plenty of minions trying to come towards you and kill you at the same time, so you kind of got to watch out for them too. So at the end, you get a bunch of experience for beating the boss. And he also got like quite a bit of materials. He got some shader wood, some shade wood, dendrite, scrap, and more dendrite. So I'm taking these are like boss materials that maybe drop from the boss, and you could take them and craft like certain weapons with them. And then they move on to the next boss, which he tries to beat a few times, so they eventually bring him in a co-op partner. We get our first look at, you know, co-op actually being played. But the Totem Father, and it's this big goat-like creature with this wooden staff, and he shoots freaking like lightning bolts at you and big lightning rocks, and he just has his minions coming to try to kill you. It took them quite a while to beat this, actually. Even with the co-op partner, they were having some trouble beating this boss, but they finally beat it, and they get the materials from him, and they bring it back, and that's where we get to see the cool thing. He takes the materials, which is Arcadium, and he actually is able to craft a boss weapon. It is called the Eye of the Storm. We'll go over some of these other boss weapons that are on here too, and mods too, because they have mods as well. This is one that's called the Eye of the Storm. It has a 40.5 attack rating. We won't go over all of the damage and stuff, but the skill, it has a slotted in mod, and it fires an explosive round that upon detonation deals 140.6 shock damage. Hit enemies are charged with a static field, exploding when in proximity to other charged enemies, dealing damage. And it shoots electrical bolts. So we're going to have these guns in the game that come from these bosses, and they're going to have like different elements and different abilities, and it seems pretty cool. So let's go over some more of these weapons. So starting off, they had this during the demo. It's an explosive shot. It fires an explosive round that upon detonation will deal 0 damage to all enemies within 4 meters. So they do have 0 damage on some of these things, and I'm pretty sure the reason why is it's still in testing and stuff. So take everything that it says, like number-wise, with a grain of salt, but these abilities probably will be in the game. I'm pretty sure of it. So next up, at the Flicker Cloak. Surrounds the caster with a magical shield for 30 seconds, absorbing up to 100% of their max health and damage from incoming attacks. So you'll use this like if you want to be up close and personal and you don't want to take as much damage, you could pop this, pull your cool melee weapon out and go to town on some people, and you'll kind of have an overshield for a little while. Next up is the Seed Caller. It summons a root minion which will fight on the wielder side, dealing 0 damage per hit and will live for 30 seconds. Let's move on to the next one. The Mantle of Thorns. It increases melee damage by 50%, reduces damage taken from enemies by 50%, and reflects 50% of damage taken from enemy melee attacks for a duration. So this is definitely the up close and personal, I'm going to stab you mod. You're gonna want to throw this. You're gonna want to throw this on and pop it when you're about to go in and do some work. And it's pretty cool. Like if you want to be like this, it seems like they have things that you'll be able to make builds from, and that's what I really love from games like this. See, next up you have the Rattleweed. It launches a Rattleweed with 0 health, which I'm pretty sure that'll change. All enemies near the Rattleweed are drawn to it. So it's kind of like a tether, and it pulls them in. Next up we have Song of Swords. The damage dealt by all players standing within the aura is increased by 30%, but every enemy that comes in, their attacks are decreased by 30%. Next up, we have the Stormcaller. It conjures an electrical storm centered around the caster, which deals 40% of weapon damage to nearby enemies. The lightning arcs from the storm move with the caster for 10 seconds. If you can really have two things equipped, which would be cool, you can throw the Rattleweed out, get all the enemies grouped up and tether them in and bring them in, and then you can hit the Stormcaller. It brings down this electrical storm around you. You can run into them and they're all taking damage. And moving on, we have the Blink token. It teleports the caster towards the target and creates an energy field that deals 100% of weapon damage to enemies along the way. So you'll blink and you'll leave an energy streak behind you, I'm taking, and everything within that streak takes 100% of your weapons damage. Moving on. We had the Wildfire Shot. Fires an arcing flaming projectile that explodes upon impact, leaves a pool of fire that damages enemies over time. Alright, now getting into the boss weapons. First up, we had the Petrified Maul. It looks pretty cool. It's a hammer, and it deals extra stagger damage with each hit. So for each hit you're hitting them with this hammer, they're going to be falling back more and more. So you're going to want to keep on hitting them. And then moving on, we have the Smolder, a sword engulfed in flames, which has a chance to set targets on fire with each hit. We have the Root Flamethrower. It's an accurate submachine gun with a slower fire rate that shoots searing hot bullets that deal fire damage. And then we have the Spore Bloom that has a mod called Spore Shot. It fires an explosive round that upon detonation deals 46.9 rot damage. Wow, I'm not too sure what this rot damage thing is. To all enemies within 4 meters. Hit enemies have a chance of being root rotted. Like I said, not too sure what that is. It's a single shot spread weapon that is incredibly powerful at close range at the cost of having to reload after each round fired. So you might not be able to shoot as fast with this weapon, but you'll be doing a ton of damage with each shot because you'll have to reload after every shot. So you'll have to keep that in mind whenever using that one. The other one that showed off besides the Eye of the Storm was the Scar of the Jungle God. It's a clawed gauntlet that has a chance to inflict a bleed effect on enemies with each hit. This is like a scythe, and that's freaking dope, man. So I think that's the last one they showed off. But it just seems so cool that they have all of these weapons like kind of laid out. And you'll have different weapons that you can get from different bosses. And they all have they're all unique. You look at these weapons, none of them are the same. And that's something I think a lot of games get wrong. They skip out on the uniqueness for, you know, more, and that just, to me, it's not as good as something like this. Who knows how many guns and weapons will be in this game and armor will be in this game. We'll have to wait and see, but I mean, if everything is unique like these, then it's going to be a pretty good game. So they craft the weapon and they move forward to a new area where they, it takes them a little while to get through. They fight all of these Pan, which is the goat-like creatures of like Yasha, I believe is the name of the place. But they finally get through, and then they get to another boss at the end, which is the Storm Warden. And this boss uses like elemental attacks, like it'll send like waves of electricity across the floor that track you down. It shoots like big electrical balls at you. And the thing is that makes these boss fights really hard is you have all of these ads coming at you as well. So gonna be a little tougher than just trying to focus on the boss.
It's like a little electric chihuahua.
But just some other things that they talked about. They talked about how the game is going to have scaling difficulty, so the more people you have playing.
Look at it. Look at them. They're coming for you.
Another thing that they talked about, like,
you could be a hero.
another thing that they talked about is how the game is going to have scaling difficulty. So no matter if you're playing by yourself, it's going to be easier than if you're playing with a friend, and it's going to be harder even playing with 2 friends because the game is 3-player co-op. But I hope all of you guys get into this game. I really liked it. It comes out August 20th at $40 price tag. You can't beat that. The game looks amazing. So if I got you interested in this game and you liked what you see, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.